Hello, inspired women. Great to see you this evening. And definitely, as you come on or as you check in on the replay, put replay in and definitely just let us have your questions because I have a great guest for us today. We're going to put some fun back in food. And um, Linda, if you will go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Linda Letterman. I am a mom of two kids. I have a son who is 17 and a daughter who's 14. I have a husband and two really big, loud dogs. So hopefully they'll be quiet. I'm a lawyer by background, and I
Ooh.
changed my profession basically when I had kids. And now I'm a balabusta. And let me give you an idea of what a balabusta is. It's an old world Yiddish term that means a woman who makes a fine home. And I am not talking Martha Stewart. I am talking put your feet up on the couch, put your elbows on the table, and everybody wants to come to your house because it's fun, it's warm, it's welcoming, and that's the place to be. So that's my goal, is to help all kinds of women, all kinds of moms to become a balabusta. It gives you great pleasure in your life.
It will. Oh, I love that term then, balabusta. Um, the reason being, I'll tell you why I love the term. I grew up in the South, in the country, and my mom was very strict. Oh my gosh, dinner was a big deal. Everybody sitting around table, no elbows on the table. You got to wash your hands. I mean, it was just so many rules. You had to sit down, eat all your food, no talking at the table.
Oh my
Believe it
God.
or not. Yeah, it was, oh my gosh, it was just like, oh. So this sounds so different, so much fun. Oh wow. Balabusta. I
It's
love it.
meant to be fun.
Good. Yeah. We need to have fun. Now, um, Linda, during this time, when we're planning our meals, it can be so hectic and trying to do this and trying to do that. Can you share some tips for us that make it fun, where the whole family can participate, really?
The whole family should participate. It can be it can be very pleasant to be by yourself sometimes if you have a lot of chaos in your life. But if you can get your family involved, it really enriches everybody's lives. And I'm a big believer in teaching your kids how to cook at a very young age. My kids knew how to
Right.
make their eggs for breakfast when they were very young. As long as you teach them things that are safe, they will become independent and um, carry on traditions that are worthwhile for them to carry on. So, in terms of tips on meal planning, it's particularly hard in these days where you might not have things in your store that you used to being able to buy, but there's some really fundamental rules that apply for absolutely every time. Number one is to know what you have, know what you need, and know how to use it. And by
Mm,
that, I mean, you have to know what's in your pantry, what's in your refrigerator, and what's in your freezer. There's general guidelines of staples you should have. It's obviously different for everybody. Everybody's got different food preferences, different cultural backgrounds, different cooking skills. I mean, the gamut runs wild. But if you have a well stocked pantry of the items that you use or that you want to learn how to use, then you'll find yourself being able to whip up recipes on the fly. And at some point, that's the goal. It's great to start off with recipes so you understand what goes with what. But at some point, you just want to say, what am I going to make for dinner? Boom, I know what I have. And in 15 minutes, you can have dinner on the table. That's a goal for everybody, but that's not necessarily how you start. So, like I said, start with an inventory, find out what you have, find out what you need, try to organize what you have. If you make Mexican food a lot, keep your Mexican spices together. So you're not looking for the cumin in one cabinet and you, whatever other spices you need in another one. If you keep like-minded used ingredients together, it's going to be easy to access them, get rid of the frustration levels when you can't find them. So know what you have, know what you need, then get your family together and say, what do you like to eat? Because don't guess. Sometimes the kids will look like they've eaten, but all of a sudden your dog is getting very heavy because the food's been hiding from their plate into the dog's mouth, and you think your kids are well fed. It's not happening. So Find out what your food your family likes. It's very easy. And then start making a list. You can either do it on your computer, make a folder, buy a notebook, put an individual file folders in it, break it down by categories. Chickens, meats, if you're plant-based, do vegetables, your grains, your beans. And surprisingly, that's going to follow a lot like your pantry staple lists. But you put your recipes in there. So that's a good place to start. You can decide whether you want to cook by themes. There's so many themes you can do. Probably the most common one is Taco Tuesday, which drives me nuts. Because if I have tacos every Tuesday, shoot me. It's horrible. Who wants to be that predictable, number one? And who wants to be that boring, number two? I can't do it. So when you're thinking of themes that you want to do, think of an easy way to have variety. So if you insist on Taco Tuesday, you can do a beef taco one day. Next week, you can do a shrimp taco, maybe a fish taco, pulled pork tacos. You can make chicken taco soup. So yes, you can call it Taco Tuesday, but just don't make that same recipe every damn Tuesday. You just can't do it. Another thing you can do is you can expand the topic. So if your topic was tacos, why not expand it into Mexican food? So one day that you'd make burritos, one day you'd make enchiladas. You can change by cuisine, you can change by ingredient within the cuisine. So that's one way you can meal plan. Another thing you want to do is figure out what can I do so I am not cooking every night. It's exhausting. I don't care how good a cook you are. It's exhausting. So there's a couple things you can do around that. One thing is batch cooking. That's making a lot of a particular item and then either A, freezing a portion of it, which comes in really handy when you have a really busy day or a night and you don't have time to sit and cook, or something went wrong. Things happen all the time. Your schedule is not always as you think it's going to be. So if you have something in the freezer that you've made fresh and it's really delicious, defrost it. It's easy. So one thing is batch cooking. So make a lot of something. You can also make a lot of something and then repurpose it some way else during the week. So you can make a double batch of rice. One day you can have it as a side dish to something. One day you can make it to stuffed peppers with some meat sauce. Another day you can make it for fried rice. So your kids, and you are not going to get bored of eating the rice if it's utilized differently during the week. And once you cook that first batch, you're not recooking rice every night of the week. You're redoing it. So here's another example. One of the favorite things that my kids love to eat are spicy Asian meatballs, but they're made with pork. So they're spicy pork meatballs. They take maybe 15 minutes at best to make. And we make them in the oven, so I'm not cleaning up a lot of pans. It's really, really easy. What I'll do one night is I'll make it with rice noodles, pad thai rice noodles. You can buy them in the grocery store. And in order to cook them, all you do is put them in boiling water for 5 minutes, and that's it. They're done. So make a simple peanut sauce and put that on the rice noodles, and you put the meatballs on top of that. Great meal. The next night, I might chop up those those meatballs, and then serve them on big pieces of lettuce with baby bok choy and baby corn. I'm not cooking that main dish again, but I have two completely different, and maybe you make it every other day. I mean, you don't have to have pork meatballs twice, but I've made two meals for the week that taste very, very different. And between the two of them, they take almost no time at all. So when you're meal planning, you want to take a look at what ingredients you're going to use. Can I batch cook it? Can I repurpose it down the road? Another thing that I like to do is when I buy my groceries, one of the first things I do is I make a huge salad. I've got a really, really big Tupperware. I line it with paper towels because this is going to keep it fresh for over a week. I line it with paper towels, clean and wash my vegetables, make my salad, put paper towels on top of it, and then cover it with the Tupperware top. It will stay fresh in your refrigerator, I guarantee you, at least a week. The one thing you don't want to put in that salad is cucumbers because they contain a lot of water, and your tomatoes. If that's what you like in your salad, add it when you're putting the salad in your bowl. So if I have that already pre-made for the week, I can do a ton of different things with it. For instance, If I'm making that famous taco night, and I usually put out a big plate of the toppings so my kids can make their own. So one of the things we do as toppings is sliced onions, lettuces. I just take a grab of that salad and put it on the plate, and they take that salad and put it on their taco. I'm not cutting every time I need to do a meal. Another thing I can do is making a citrus salmon. Make that one night. I have recipes for these things. So, so you make your salmon one night, you make it with your vegetable, you make it with your grain. Make a lot. The next night, put it on top of the salad with a great citrus dressing. It's a lovely dinner. You're not cooking, but think of the meals you're able to give to your family so quickly. And it's so much better than stopping at the fast food joint or coming home after a long day's work or volunteering or school activities. And the kids are going, "What's for dinner? What's for dinner?" You want to shoot yourself because you have no idea. But if you plan a little bit, your answers are already there.
I love that. Oh my gosh, you gave us so many different ways. And as you were talking about that, I'm single and my kids are grown, so I live by myself. But I was thinking of ways, even myself as a single person, because what happens with me is because I'm single, I don't have anyone here with me. I get in work overdrive mode. I was talking to another friend of mine today who said the same thing. It was at 5 o'clock and she was like, "I haven't eaten yet." I said, "Neither have I. I forgot." And so now I forgot to eat. And when I go in my kitchen, I have to look at what can I prepare instead of saying, what do I already have? Because I've prepared it already. So you made me think about that.
Here's another idea that's good for those nights when you're running late and there's nothing around. I like to batch cook soups. I make a really
Oh,
great seafood soup, but I mean, I make a lot. And I freeze them in containers. So when I'm in a pinch or my family wants to eat something that I don't want to eat, I just defrost the soup and it's delicious. I will say, when you're going to be freezing things, here's a handy tip. You want to freeze it in portion size containers because you don't want to have four breasts of chicken frozen together and you have to defrost all of them. It's a waste
right.
of food, it's a waste of your time. So if you're going to make soup, put it in containers that are proportionate to the size that you're going to be needed for. You also need to label what you're putting in those containers, and you need to date them because not everything stays indefinitely in a freezer. They lose their flavor over time, they lose their quality over time. The reason why you want to label what it is because I've had many containers in my freezer that I thought were seafood soup, and when they were defrosted, guess what? It was beef stew. So you can't always see what it is once it's frozen.
Right.
So instead of guessing, always label your foods, put it in the right kinds of containers. I find in the freezer, clear containers work best because then you know what you have.
That's nice. Now, is there a special type of container you would recommend, like a Tupperware or something
Tupperware is
else?
great. OXO makes great containers. You can go to any Bed Bath and Beyond, any Target. And I'm not talking fancy containers.
Right.
Tupperwares, they don't have to be fancy. You just have to remember, if you're putting a liquid in the freezer, save about an inch before the top because it will expand. And you don't want that
Mm.
container. And do not put, you have to be careful of putting some containers directly into a microwave if that's how you're going to defrost them.
Yeah.
The
Those were
microwave.
some, oh my gosh, those were some really good tips. I have to think more about batch cooking on the weekend. So when I'm in busy and I'm in the middle of things and I need to get something to eat, I've got something already in there that I can
Yep.
either I could take out a little earlier and defrost. I love that. I love those tips. Oh wow, that was
Now,
great.
let me give you another one. Another thing that's good to cook during the week, not even cooking, just to make, is a variety of sauces and dressings. And so you
Mm,
can put them on anything during the week. You can broil a piece of fish and put your pesto on it. The pesto you can freeze. So your sauce is already made. It lasts forever in the refrigerator also. But you can put it on your pasta. You can put it on your fish. You can put it on meatballs. Change up things. So anything you can do to cut down the time, it's simple. So if your sauce is already made, it only takes a couple of minutes to make your pasta. If you want to put it over vegetables and do vegetables for your mains, put the sauces on that. So make a couple of salad dressings or side sauces. You're golden. Also in your pantry, make sure you have your sauces. You can buy pre-made barbecue sauce. You can buy hoisin sauce if you're making Chinese food. Buy salsas if you don't have the time to do it. So that's also a function of your time constraints, your food preferences. But if it's already in your pantry, you can just look at that and boom, it's not that hard.
Nice. Now, during this time where we're all at home together, we have a special opportunity to change what our dinner time or our meal times look like with family. Share some ways that we can do that.
Okay. Just like you plan a meal, you want to plan your dinner time because that's really more important than the food. Your food can be terrible, but if your meal is fun, people are going to remember it and laugh about it for years, and it becomes family legend. So you have to keep that in mind. When you're cooking, don't take it so seriously. Don't stress out. Some of my best things are huge flops. One time I was making a challah and I was doing it with my daughter, and I put it in the microwave to proof, which means to make it expand, to rise before you cook it. Well, it must have been warmer in my microwave than I thought because it exploded and oozed out like a Jerry Lewis bad movie. You can just imagine what this looked like. I opened up the door and the blob is literally coming out of my microwave. Well, my daughter was on the floor cracking up because look how bad mom screwed up. But you know what? It was a great food moment. It's a great family story. So don't take it so seriously. But back to meal planning. Plan your meals around a theme sometime. There's lots and lots of wacky holidays out there. And one of the things that I do is I highlight the holiday and I give you things to do about it for your meal. So I'll give you an example. A couple of days ago, it was National Superhero Day. Whoever heard of that? It's crazy. National Superhero Day. So I found out that it was National Superhero Day. And I came up with a list of all kinds of quotes from superheroes. And at the dinner table, I read a quote and I had my kids guess and my husband guess who said it.
Nice.
It was really fun. It's different conversation. Nobody wants to sit there and say, how was your day? Especially right now when their day is your day, 24 hours a day. Yes. You go out of your mind. You go out of your mind. So there's so many little things you can do to spark conversation. Number one, find out what that special day is. I talk about it on my website. It's an easy resource. I give you questions. Another thing that you can do is do 5-minute mysteries. Look them up online. Talk about the mystery, play the guessing game, and rotate who gets to do the narration because they're going to have to know the answer. And everybody guess. And you can do that age appropriate. You can do it with guests. You can do it with friends coming over. It doesn't have to be your family, but you can do these conversations at a meal, and it's lovely. Last month was National Poetry Month. So I had everybody in my family, reluctantly by my kids, I might add, but they did it, come up with a poem. I said, you can find one, you can make one up. Of course, my son's was, I hate poetry, and it went downhill from there. I mean, that was his poem, and he actually wrote one. So you never know what they're going to come up with. My daughter had a really meaningful one. I was way too esoteric for anybody, and my husband made a rap song. So there's, it gives you something to do at dinner, and the amount of time and effort it takes, it's minimal considering the payoff you get when those conversations going. Another thing you can do is a gratitude jar. Cut out 30 different topics of gratitude, throw them in the jar. Once a week, have somebody pull out the topic, read the question, and have everybody talk about whatever fits that topic.
Right.
So that's another. And it's actually very enlightening. You learn a lot about your kids. You learn a lot about yourself and your spouse. And it's so much better than saying, how was school today? Or did you get your homework done? Or who did you sit with at lunch? Those conversations go nowhere.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And not only are you teaching people how to make their food time fun, you're teaching them how to make their meal times fun,
Right.
where they can actually have good conversation with their family. I know I was in a group just the other day, and um someone put in a group that they've run out of things to talk about. They've been cooped up with their family for so long, they've run out of things to talk about. So wow. And do you have some of these resources on your website, Linda?
Yes, I write blog posts on my website that I'll find a day and I'll, write about it. So the questions are right there for you. The history of that day is right there for you. And that gives you something to talk about too. Well, why the heck do we even have a superhero day? So and you'll find out when you read the blogs. So that's a resource. I am in the process of working out planning programs for people. I do that on one-on-one right now. I can do it these days by Zoom, and I can meal plan with people. We can learn how to cook by Zoom. We can do pantry overhauls by Zoom. So I do that right now since nobody can be together.
Right. Wow. So now you're officially a kitchen confidence coach.
That's me.
Yes. What made you decide? What is your passion around this? Being a kitchen confidence coach.
Well, it started when I was much younger. um, my mother's a horrible cook. My grandmothers aren't much better. And so I was a smart alecky kid, and at one point I told my mother, your cooking is just awful. And she did a fair amount of takeout. She said, "All right, smarty pants, you cook one night." And she bought me the joy of cooking. And she said, "You
Oh,
find a recipe and make it. And I'll buy the ingredients and you make it. And you'll learn how to cook and you can show me off," because her ego wasn't threatened. And so I said, "Okay." So I figured now I got to find exotic things to do. Here I was a big mouth. I have to do something about it. Every meal I made flopped big time. My older brother would eat before he came home. My dad found a business meeting to go to. My mother was on a diet so she wouldn't have to eat it. And my poor little brother suffered through everything. So I was banned from the kitchen. I was actually banned from cooking in my family. One time I decided to make a dessert for a holiday meal, and my family used it as a doorstop. It was awful. I couldn't cook at all. So I really decided I need to know what to do. So I took cooking classes. I have tons of cooking books. I went to Ruby Cooking School. I went to the School of Integrative Nutrition. I went to the Natural Gourmet School. Tons of lessons, trial and error. And if you keep your sense of humor about you, you'll learn in the process. And then I became really, really good, which was fine when I was single or when I was just my husband and I. But once I had kids, the chaos just seemed to be exponentially all around me.
mm-hmm.
And the more I talked to my kids' parents, my kids' parents, my kids' friends' parents, um, they were doing no cooking. They were doing no family meals. They were
Oh
doing
wow.
takeout, or this one's playing baseball late afternoon, so he'll eat in the car. Who eats dinner in the car? It's an alien concept to me. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to make sure my family has the kind of life experiences and food experiences that I want them to have. And so I set out to figure out ways I can organize my life that would be easy for other people to adapt to whatever their time constraints were, to make it happen.
Very nice. It's amazing how you've been through that journey. So you know what it's like. And I'm a huge believer in as you are moving towards your passion, you're using all of your life experiences. So you had to go through that time when you couldn't cook, to get to this point where you can really expertly talk about it to other people and show other people how to do this. So when people say to you, "I can't cook, I'll never learn how to cook," or "I don't have this fancy kitchen and all this fancy equipment to cook," you're able to say, "Oh, hockey sticks, that's not what you need. That's that's not important,
You
right?
just need the desire. In terms of equipment that you have, you need a sharp knife and a cutting board. I mean, you don't need so much of the stuff that people feel that they need to have. It clutters up their kitchens. It makes their kitchens much smaller when you have one use items. You don't need it. Learn your knife skills. That I can teach you. And everything else that comes easy after that.
Very nice. I love this. And I think this will actually really help someone because a lot of parents are struggling with figuring out how to do these meals. And when you said that, the light bulb went on for me. I don't know why it didn't before. I guess because I don't have people here. But the light bulb went on and I'm like, yes, batch cooking, or yes, let's make one thing and reuse it in different. It's like repurposing content.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're repurposing your food content.
Yes. And I love the idea of that. Yeah. It makes it so much easier to be able to get meals done instead. And to be honest with you, Linda, during this time, I didn't feel safe going to fast food restaurants. So
Yep.
I did want to prepare everything at home. So yeah, nice, healthy meals. So that's what Balaboosted
That's what
secret.
About Boost is all about. Yes.
Yes, that's the secret. I love it, love it. Audience, definitely, you see, I have Linda's information scrolling across the screen there. Reach out to balaboostedSecret.com and check out all of the things that uh, Linda has for busy moms. As she talked about helping them organize their pantry and planning their meals and even cooking lessons. So I'm excited about that. Wow. I know when you gave me your information, you said you're the owner of over 1,000 cookbooks.
You know what? I am, and I never follow a recipe. I use them for inspiration. Maybe the first time I can't follow everything exactly because I know how much garlic I like. They don't know how much garlic I like. I know how much garlic I like. So I may be missing an ingredient. That's not going to stop me from making a recipe because I can figure out, well, what to use instead. And so the more you cook, you'll learn how you can substitute, especially in these times when there's so many ingredients that you can't find at your grocery store. If you know how to substitute ingredients, you can make something and it's going to be probably even better than what you thought you were going to make.
That's really nice. And so, do you have resources on your website? Let's say, I've been a mom and I have not been used to cooking, but now I've decided I'm going to make a really concerted effort to start cooking. So, do you have resources on your website that helps busy moms start somewhere? Not just buy a cookbook and flip through it, but
That's
really.
not going to help you. You'll see I have recipes on my site, and my site is fairly new, so I'm beginning to populate my content. But one of the things I do is when I do a recipe, I just don't put the recipe down. I give you the substitutes. I give you the shortcuts.
Oh,
You don't have to make your sauce from scratch sometimes. Trader Joe's makes great Indian masalas. Okay, so here's another quick, easy dinner. So you buy a chicken breast. You want a very quick dinner. Cut it up into chunks, into cubes. Saute your chicken with some onions. Pour in the Trader Joe's tikka masala sauce. Maybe a little bit of coconut milk, the kind in a can, not from a carton, or a little tomato juice. Boom! Your dinner is done in 15 minutes. You want to use chicken tenders? They'll cook even faster because they're smaller and thinner. 15 minutes. Have a rice that you batch cooked. Your side dish is already made.
oh wow. All right. Moms on here, you better listen to Linda because Linda has got some really, I love that tip. I could visualize cutting the chicken in cubes and getting that sauce from Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's.
Love
So,
it.
yes. Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to make some of that. Yes.
Let me know how it is.
Yeah, that's easy. That I can remember that recipe. That's
Yeah.
really easy. So, moms, if you're listening, definitely reach out to Linda. Check out her website. Get her tips. I'm going to check out your website as well, Linda, because I need to see. I like the substitution, and a lot of recipes don't do that. So,
Right.
I think you're on to something there.
You also, I just want to point out, um, when you're thinking of substitutions, you can look at a recipe and let's say somebody in your family is gluten intolerant. There are certain substitutions you can make that allow you to make that recipe just as flavorful as it was intended to be. So
Wow.
don't always be turned off by the fact, or let's say you're a vegetarian. You can use tofu or tempeh as your main protein in the dish for many of the recipes are out there. So once you know what you're doing and get used to different ingredients, you're not limited by what that recipe says, which is why I don't follow a cookbook exactly anymore.
I love that. Yeah. I get turned off sometimes by recipes because I'll find this great recipe and then I'll say, oh, I don't want that in it.
Don't put
And
it
then,
in.
yes,
You're eating it.
thanks for
There's no treat.
permission.
At least you're not going to say you forgot that ingredient. You are not allowed to have it anymore. It's your recipe. Make it your own. Make every meal your own.
Wow. I love that. I love that slogan. Make every meal your own. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda, for stopping by and sharing these tips with us. I really appreciate it. And I'm
Yep.
sure the moms in my Inspired Women group will appreciate it as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed spending this time with you. And I do hope I've inspired some moms, whether you have kids at home or not. You still got to cook, you
Yeah.
still got to eat. So, one of
Yeah.
the things I'm going to leave you with this thought: family meals, when done right, is love made edible. And that's what you should strive for.
I love that. Is love made edible? Ooh, I hope you've got that on your website. Yes. All right, Linda. Inspired Women, ask Linda any questions. She'll be back in here to read them and she'll check them out and definitely be able to give you a response. Have a good night, Linda. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank
And
you. Your pleasure.
yes, and I'll see you Inspired Women next time.
Thanks
Bye.
much. Bye bye.